Okay, guys, so we're going to get started here. My name is Holly Farbo. I am a dental hygienist. I've been a hygienist for 21 years. I worked in private practice for 19 years. I came to an Aspen Dental as a hygienist, and I fell in love with everything that, that I did there. And so a position came available in the academic department, working with students and spreading the word about Aspen. And so that's where I am now. I am the academic and industry relations manager of Hygiene. So I'm going to go ahead and let our panelists introduce themselves. We'll start with Dr. Alex Williams.
Hi guys, my name is Dr. Alexander Williams. I'm actually reside here in Oklahoma. I'm in Tulsa. I'm born and raised Tulsan. I actually grew up in small towns just outside of Tulsa area. I come from a line of dentists in my family. My dad, brother, and uncle are all dentists, two of which are partners with me in Aspen Dental today. My dad still has a private practice where he is still practicing and teaching for the American Orthodontic Society for the last 35 years. My sister is also a hygienist who is employed here with Aspen Dental, who works in an office outside of my ownership. But I'm just really looking forward to this.
Great, thank you. Brittany Gibson, she is a territory hygiene manager. I'll let you go ahead next.
Thanks, Holly. So as you said, I am the territory manager of hygiene support for all of Oklahoma and Northwest Texas. I've been in this role for almost 2 years now, and I'm actually celebrating my 10th year in the dentistry world coming up in 10 days. So crazy to think, but I started as a hygiene assistant when I was still in high school, did that all throughout college. Then I graduated from hygiene school. I worked in private practice for about 4 years before coming on with Aspen as a clinical hygienist, which I did that for a little over a year before getting into the role that am in now.
Great, thank you, Brittany. Okay, so we'll go ahead with Amber next. Amber, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Amber Arsenal. I am a hygienist with Aspen. I've been a hygienist since 2011. I currently practice in Oklahoma, but I am from New England, where I went to college at the University of New England. I am a military spouse, so I've practiced in Germany, Maine, Colorado, and now Oklahoma. So excited to be on here and answer any questions everybody may have.
Okay, great. All right, and last but not least, we see you're driving home, I'm assuming from work. So we'll introduce Cynthia to you. Oh, do I have you muted? Hold on, I'm sorry.
My name's Cindy. I've been a hygienist for a little over 3 years now. I did start with Aspen right out of school, so I've had a really great experience. So I'm glad to be sharing what I've learned, and I am driving home. I have an hour commute, so that's something I love my thoughts. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. What I'll do is I will start with questions that we have. If they're specific, if I think that somebody, specific to you, I will ask you. If not, we'll just kind of go around. There are some general questions about Aspen that we'll just go around like I did, and you can all give your insight to it. So first, I'm just going to say really quick for anybody that doesn't know what a DSO is and what that stands for. It's a dental support or dental service organization. So that allows that our dentists and our staff, the hygienists, to actually treat patients and focus on that. And we have a management side of that takes care of recruiting and payroll, insurance, everything that doesn't have clinical aspects to it. So let's start with, so why did you guys choose Aspen and not another DSO? So Dr. Williams, want to start with that?
Sure. Actually, that's a really interesting question. Whenever I first got out of dental school, I already knew everything that I was going to do with my life. It was all laid out. I had my dad in the private practice world, as I already mentioned. I was going to go and basically take over the family business. After getting there, and we had 3 doctors, myself, my brother, and my dad in that practice, it just wasn't sustainable and growing as quickly as maybe I'd hoped to fulfill some of the necessary, income I needed, taking all the student loans. So I just had a real quick talk with them and said, hey, look, I need to start finding some extra work. So I started temping over at Aspen because my uncle was already prior employed there. So it was really just a relationship thing. But I got into it and just really, really found a connection with the company. It just made so much more sense than what I was doing. So that's kind of the origination of how I became with Connection, was just my uncle. So.
Okay, great. Brittany?
So for me, I got out of hygiene school and I thought corporate dentistry, no way that I would ever see myself working there. And actually, when I worked in private practice, worked right across the street from an Aspen Dental. And of course, like majority of you all out there, you hear all of the terrible things and all of the horror that would be alongside a corporate dental office. And for me, it really was about just the growth opportunity. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later, but just seeing that there were so many different opportunities to grow is really what persuaded me to take a chance on Aspen. And here I am almost 3 years later. I'm so glad that I decided to take that leap of faith and really take a chance with Aspen.
Great. Amber, you go ahead with the same question.
I had looked at several places before moving to Oklahoma, and I have previously worked at a DSO or corporate office, and then I worked in private, and then Aspen came up. And I'm a lot like Brittany. I saw a lot of opportunity, but what really drew me in was just how the company would set me up moving forward. And they really prepared you coming into the office and not kind of throwing you to the wind. And that was really important to me. So even, being a slightly seasoned hygienist, it was important to get the training to understand the system and ease my way into the practice. So I really loved that Aspen provided that for me. So, and then the potential to grow is what's really exciting and not something that you see in other corporate or DSOs.
Right. Okay. Cynthia, same thing. What brought you to Aspen and not another DSO?
So for me, it was straight out of school. It was just the easiest transition. I interviewed at other offices, other corporate offices, and they just were asking questions like, how fast can you take upgrades, or how long will it take you to do this? And it just wasn't, it didn't make sense for me to do that. And so whenever I interviewed with Aspen, it was all about the patient and taking care of them. So that's what really, it's all about our patients. So decision with Aspen. I also like that it's building bridges and keeping them, not burning them is a great opportunity, especially if you have to move. It's really easy to move from state to state and all that good stuff. So I really enjoy it.
Great, thank you. So one of the questions, and I work with students, so for students, it's always dental students or hygiene students. One of their biggest fears coming into school is, are you going to throw me in and expect me to see patients? Okay. So this is actually a question that the dental students have asked, and also for the hygiene students. So we'll start with Dr. Williams. As far as onboarding for a new graduate from dental school, how does that look? What does that look like?
Yeah, so for onboarding with a dentist versus hygienist, they're similar. But whenever I bring a dentist in to this practice and they're very young and they're straight out of school, one of the biggest fears is, will I be able to keep up with production? Are there going to be things that are going to happen to me on a day-to-day basis that I'm not prepared for? You know, we're prepared textbook, you know, and there's a lot of things that we gain in our experience that help us to handle situations way different than we're taught in a textbook. And so during that first initial training, you know, I don't let anybody really come in and just go straight to work. A lot of it's about just acclimation to the practice setting, getting to know the surroundings, getting to know your office, getting to know the patients, and seeing the workflow. And so what that basically means to me is through that first initial 2 to 4 weeks, typically a hygienist is just going to follow. You know, they're just going to follow along. They're going to be working on paperwork. They're just going to be kind of watching, monitoring their hygienist, monitoring or watching their owner doctor or maybe their mentor doctor that they're paired up with. And that's really going to give them a lot of exposure. Exposure to the patients, to see what kind of patients we deal with on a day-to-day basis, but also seeing what that looks like between handing off between hygienist to doctor, or maybe that transition between the doctor to the office manager, and kind of seeing it from the patient's eyes. And I think that's really, really essential in them kind of acclimating to the Aspen environment. And so after that first 2 or 3 weeks, then we're going to start to build them a schedule. Now that schedule is going to be a little bit more, you know, it's going to be very, very tamed compared to what they may experience in other private, you know, practices or even other dental service organizations. Typically, I don't let my doctors see more than one patient in the morning and one patient in the afternoon when they first start practicing, because that's what they're used to. They need a week of that just to kind of get grounded, you know, and then they can start to do maybe 2 productions in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. And then we slowly taper it to fit that provider. There's definitely not one like end game result that we're trying to recreate over and over and over again, because like many of these people have already mentioned, there's a lot of places and things we can do to grow in Aspen. And that's huge, because that means that there's a lot of also different positions in Aspen, and all of them have a right place, right? So whether it be someone who doesn't want to work a lot, right? Maybe it's a person who wants to stay at home more, maybe a mother, maybe a part-time dad. Maybe they want to go ahead and just work full time, but they don't want any true ownership in the business. We've got levels for temporary providers, float positions, full-time positions, associate positions, managing clinical directors or leads in those roles, owners, partners. The list goes on and on and on. So I really just love being able to bring these guys in slow, feel them out, let them kind of understand what this company's about, get them grounded, and then they can kind of decide on what avenue they are really looking for.
Perfect. Okay, so real quick, Dr. Williams, a follow-up question to that is usually, how do I become an owner? What does that path look like to becoming from an associate to an owner dentist?
Yeah, so like I think originally, and this I think is going to change over time, obviously, because as this company grows and as we develop and as we kind of like, you know, become larger, you're going to find less and less of those local opportunities that may be in where you want to be, becoming like a true like one single solo owner. But there are so many opportunities beyond that. Ownership's taking a new face these days. You know, we're taking ownership into a different world where we're creating larger scale, you know, entities. So in my practice, we have a large group practice. You know, we have a large group practice of many owners inside of Oklahoma. And so these are partnerships, and partnerships are really what we thrive on here in Oklahoma. I myself have, gosh, what is it now? 5 partners. It's incredible. And so like, as we see that, you know, grow, we're going to see more and more of those opportunities kind of happen. So what does it look like to get there? As an associate, you're going to start out by coming in and really just learning the ropes. Learn the ropes at Aspen Dental, kind of figuring out how to take care of the patients, what it looks like, what the numbers look like, and how you can become profitable in your own business. You know, a lot of these, you know, organizations out there or private practices are going to kind of put their mark on either 30% you're getting paid off of your production, or you're going to be paid off your net, or you got to like produce this amount of money. That's not what we do. That's not how we practice, right? So this is a family, this is a team, you know, spirit kind of company. And so we really put our emphasis on really seeing a practice as a whole become profitable business that will allow us all to grow. And so once that associate understands and learns how to do that and learns all the ins and outs of the business to get there, then we start to prep them into the managing clinical director role to see them actually lead it and see it and walk that walk, right? And once they can walk that walk and do that thing, now those potential partnerships start to come about, and we start to explore that and say, okay, what does that next step look like? How do I make you kind of see some of the reward from what you've done, all the growth that you've gained? Right. So now we'll look at, like, what does it look like for you to purchase in? How much money are you looking to kind of come on board with? And what does that investment look like? So, but there's a lot of different avenues to get there.
Right. Perfect. Great. Thank you. Okay. So for the hygiene side of this, what does your onboarding look like? And how do you prepare a new hygienist that's just coming out of school for doing more than one patient every hour? Amber, do you want to take that?
So my personal experience coming in, I went through training. So I got to go to a different location and train under a hygienist that had been with the company. And learn, go through all my paperwork, go through my computer training, but then also be able to shadow her and watch how the flow of the office went, learn how to make my way through new patients, and then transferring and handing off to the dentist in those situations. And then I got to just see the flow of the schedule. And then once I got into my office, I was really lucky to have double hygiene. So I had another hygienist there with me and just ease my way in. I've been doing it for a while. So for me, I just kind of jumped in after that first week of getting my feet wet. But it was nice and smooth because I kind of got to run my schedule the way that I wanted, and run my schedule like it was my business. So nice and easy.
Okay, perfect. Good. So Brittany, I'm going to give this one to you. If you could explain a little bit about the HOP or the hygiene orientation program and how that goes and what that does for the hygienists coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually in a transition period with our HOP, and what it is now going to look like is, like we've already kind of talked about, just the growth potential that we have for a hygienist who may not see themselves being in a clinical role for the rest of their career. The trip to Chicago is actually going to be catered more towards those hygienists who do have those aspirations to want to grow into that next level, where it may be a hygiene support manager like myself, or it may even be joining the recruiting side of it, or like yourself as an academic recruiter. Whatever their path might be, that's really what we're going to be catering towards more in our HOP for those hygienists wanting to develop and grow.
Perfect. So the territory hygiene manager position, what does that entail, and how does a hygienist go from a hygienist in the office to territory hygiene manager?
This is one of my favorite questions, because that was a question that I myself had coming on with Aspen. I thought when I got out of hygiene school that I'm so passionate about hygiene that I didn't necessarily know like what the different opportunities were. I thought, oh, well, I might teach dental hygiene one day. So coming on with Aspen, like I mentioned earlier, that's really what I fell in love with, was all of the different opportunities. So as far as, growing into the next level, it's all about development. So there are so many different people, whether it be your office manager or just so many different support staff who really is there to help get you to that next level. So as long as you're open to taking feedback and helping to develop yourself into that leadership role, then the sky is really the limit. And so for me as a hygiene manager, that's where I get to step in and say, hey, like, let's set some goals, whether it be you want to start training those new hygienists coming on within the region, or leading monthly territory calls with other hygienists. We set those goals, and I actually help those hygienists be able to achieve them to help then get to that next level. Again, whether it may be a hygiene manager or it may be a different area of growth.
Okay. So this question just came in. When you say you run your schedule as if it's your business, explain how you manage your schedule. Do you run all day long? Are you profi mill? How does that work?
No, we are not a profi mill. I run my business. For me, it's really important to have the opportunity in my schedule to get my new patients in. So we see patients from all walks of life, but for me, seeing those active infection patients, those patients that, you know, really need help, our SRPs, our gingivitis, allowing that opportunity to get them into my schedule that day. And then if I can't get them in, then I want to get them in as soon as possible. So I look at my schedule to have it be the most productive in that sense for my patients. And so that's how I run my schedule, is taking care of my patients and allowing the opportunity to fit them in. Because really, when we have patients coming in, one of the first things they say is, I want my cleaning. So, you know, after educating them and seeing them and they see the doctor, I want to be able to provide that opportunity to get them in my chair that day.
Perfect. So here's a question that just came in. What monthly goals do hygienists have? Do you have quotas? What's satisfactory level?
So,
you want to take that? Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Amber. Go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
she
You
wants
go
to
ahead.
take it.
That's fine. Then you want to take that? I don't think she has good service right now. So go ahead, Amber. Go ahead. You can
Okay.
take it.
Thanks.
We don't have quotas, but we do have goals that they're centered around our patient care. And so bottom line, first thing I've heard coming in from Aspen was, you know, providing that access to care. And that's really what Aspen's, like, part of their culture is. So for us, our goals are getting those patients in, kind of what I already talked about in running my schedule, running my business, is getting those patients in as soon as we can, because they come in scared, and when you can provide that opportunity that day, they've already conquered their fear coming in, you know, getting them in and then just continuing to do that on a daily basis. When you treat patients right, the money will come. So just continue providing the right patient care.
Okay. So we're going to switch gears, and obviously what's going on in the world now is COVID. So how has your patient appointments changed with COVID? Dr. Williams, you want to take this? And
Sure.
for you,
Yeah,
how's that?
absolutely. I think that it's, I think that question it's not loaded, but it is tough to answer. I think that you're going to find that every single state is going to be mandated or have different regulations or maybe different standards of care that their board of dentistry is going to kind of guide them on. And then there's the American Dental Association, and then this gigantic, workflow chart on how to handle and manage during these times. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to just, is it slowed down the business? Sure. I think that's just, we have to be realistic. We have to be open about that for everybody. I live around people who are in private practice, right? My dad's in private practice. I see what it's doing to the private practice world. I see what it's doing to other dental service organizations. It would be foolish for me to say that it's not affecting us and not slowing us down, right? But it's our job to kind of find the best way to manage through this, find care for these patients, provide a higher level of standard of care as far as like what we're doing as far as PPE goes, or any of the requirements that we need to meet to protect not just our patients, but even ourselves and our employees, right? And our families for that matter. So when we come to work, yes, everyone's going to be screened with, all of the correct tools. We're going to be taking temperatures. Everybody's going to be wearing masks. Everybody's going to be ordering more, we're taking, more precautions. We're ordering more supplies. Obviously, as an owner standpoint, I'm really glad, there's going to be hopefully some ways that we can kind of take advantage of some write-offs in the future regarding PPE usage. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the dollars and cents. It's what we can do to make sure that the patients are still feeling comfortable when they enter into our building, and that's everything. And I would do the same for my employees as well. If an employee calls me, and I can't speak for every Aspen owner, but I can speak for myself and the Oklahoma market. And I can tell you this much, that if an employee calls me and has concern that they're going to, possibly spread something without even with an unknown involved, we're going to get that unknown revealed before they're even allowed to come back to work. I'm going to make sure that we're taking every precaution. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the dollars and cents are gonna have to suffer when it comes to our business, obviously. And that's about all I got.
Good, perfect. So how, Brittany, will give this to you, or Amber, how has the PPE been? Do you have adequate PPE? Are you able to freely order that? How's that working in the offices for you guys?
I'll take that one. So that's also a really great question. And I'm so thankful that we've had an entire team who's been able to secure us all of the necessary PPE and then some that the CDC has required for offices. So we have everything from hair caps all the way down to foot caps, shoe coverings. So we also have secured aerosol reduction HVE devices for each of our practices, whether it be the dry shield or the PureVac, to make sure that our hygienists are comfortable. And we are also looking at secure external aerosol reduction devices and air purifiers in the future for our practices as well.
Perfect, great. So how much time for the hygienist, how much time do you get for your patient? Amber or Cindy, either one of you can
I'll take that
question.
That is definitely provider specific. So hang on, I need to go inside with my husband's cutting grass, but provider specific, it definitely, if you're a newer grad, of course, it's going to be what you're comfortable with. But now with COVID, we definitely extended at least 15 minutes or so per patient. So I would say for my recall appointments, I definitely schedule an hour. You just have to allot time for seeing those new patients and getting up and making sure you're giving them a good experience as well. So for your SRPs, full mouth 2.5 hours, depends on what you need, especially if you're placing LAAs or Atrodox and stuff like that, you're definitely going to need more time. So I would say it's just depending on you and running your business.
Perfect. So a question that always comes up is basically, how are you paid? Do you get commission? Do you get an hourly wage? So, do you have to sell? Those are the several questions that kind of are grouped into one.
Cindy, you want to take that one
Amber,
as well?
you want to take this?
Sure.
Oh, Cindy, yeah, go ahead, Cindy.
Sure. It's definitely hourly is what they start with a base pay. It's very competitive. So it's definitely depending on what state you're in, all that good stuff, which could be discussed with Brittany. But you're also offered incentives like bonuses and things like that, depending on how great you run your business, which is great. So the more that you offer your patients and get them to accept the Oral Bs and things like that that are going to benefit them anyway, you can definitely incentivize yourself through that, which is awesome. So.
And if I could just add to that as well, it's an uncapped incentive potential that's paid out monthly for our hygienists. So they really have that opportunity, like Cindy was saying, as far as building up their business, to give themselves that bonus depending on, like Cindy was saying, what they spend in supplies and also their net revenue as well.
Okay. And just so just because I did this job and I was a hygienist in Aspen, what I did love about it was one of the things that I think a lot of hygienists are worried about is the selling aspect, that they're going to have to push products. For me, what I loved was that the products that I would recommend to my patients, I would have recommended to my patients at any office I worked in. They were the products that I knew and used, and you know, for their treatment plan, I would have recommended. So I never ever felt like I was selling anybody anything. It was always about what came naturally and what you need to make your home plan. You're coming to me once every 6 months, 4 months, 3 months. I need to make sure that you're doing the best you can do at home to make sure that everything is going to go well for you. So that's just my 2 cents. So, and here's a question here that was raised, and this is a dental assistant question. So do dental assistants have the opportunity to bonus? Brittany, do you know that answer?
I'll take that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so our dental assistants have the opportunity to get what we call an office report card, and they're eligible to get up to $300 that is paid out monthly.
Okay, perfect. So what types of technology do you use to diagnose and do treatment plans with? Is there any specific technologies that you use that help to show patients, you know, what your treatment planning is?
I'll take it. So,
Sure.
in all of our practices, you know, we conduct what we call comprehensive evaluations on just about everybody who walks through the door. Our goal is to make sure that people are getting comprehensive care and making sure they understand and are aware of where their current status is as far as their oral health goes. A lot of our patients haven't seen a dentist in 10 to 15 years, so it's really important that we do that. So having said that, we put them through, you know, everything. We have digital x-rays, obviously the very basics of modern day dentistry. We take them through a digital panel. We do a digital full mouth series of x-rays. They're going to get seated, and then they're going to go through and get what's called an iTero scan. So in all of my practices, we have iTero scanners. And so it's a 3-dimensional image that is taken of the entire mouth, which gives them a very good visual representation of what's really going on in that mouth. Obviously, the standard probe, the mechanics of what you guys do every day, very important. And a lot of the silly questions that will come up and is there specific types of brands of instruments that I use? No, absolutely not. You can pick out whatever you want. You want the Mercedes-Benz of probes? I got you. I'll get it for you. You know, whatever's going to make you happy. That's my goal too. So, getting you in there, getting into the probing depths, and then allows me to come in and really take a look at what's going on a very broad spectrum. I can see it all, and even when it comes down to it, I've had J-shaped lesions on x-rays where we've lost bone. And I'm like, I don't know if this is endo. I don't know if this is perio. Hey, I got an idea. Let's throw the CBCT at them. Let's take a 3-dimensional image for free so that I can evaluate this. Now we get to pull up this jawbone in front of them, spin it around their head, and I can actually show them their jaw, like just the bone and where the bone is missing around the tooth. And it's incredible. And so, like, the technology is unreal. We've got so many opportunities for things. As far as laser dentistry goes, we've got that option too. In multiple practices, I've already got lasers, and we're going to probably include that over time into more and more of our locations. So, no, I think it's fantastic. We have probably the elite as far as it goes, as far as technology. We're ahead of the game.
Perfect. So speaking of lasers, a question that comes up too is, do you use lasers for perio treatment?
Can I take it again?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sorry, guys.
You want to jump in? Good.
Yeah, so like as far as like hygiene goes, I think it's going to be provider based completely, guys. I mean, obviously I want hygienists to work with their providers. I obviously work with a lot of different doctors, a lot of different, hygienists out there. There are going to be different philosophies out there on what works, what doesn't work, what's the best care for our patients. It's your job. It is your job as a provider in this world to help your patients in any way that you can. If that means that you have a true belief in laser therapy and you want to go get certified, which I got all mine certified to do, But do we use it all the time? No, absolutely not. Is it going to be practical on a financial standpoint for all patients? No, it's not. Is it a great thing? Are we seeing a lot of, research proving that it's working? Sure. And I mean, you can stand behind that. You can stand behind Arrestin. You can stand behind Atrodox. You can stand behind oral antibiotics, which I don't. But at the end of the day, you can sit there and you can come up with the best scenario that works between you, your doctor, and for your patients. And I can't emphasize that enough. Not one thing is correct.
Good. Perfect. So here's a question that is, what other than your cleanings and what other services are you required as hygienists to do? What adjuncts do you offer or that you do throughout the day? Cindy, you want to do that?
Yeah, so it's really about educating your patient. So we do offer oral Bs, which really, removes 80% more plaque and bacteria, research-based. So we know that that's going to help them. So we have those, and then we do Atrodox, Arrestin. We do bleaching. So the Zoom whitening is what we do in office. We do have the take-home as well. So taking impressions and making bleach trays would be another thing that we do. See if I'm missing anything. We have MI paste, sodium gel, chlorhexidine, fluoride varnish, of course, which we always do. Brittany, am I missing anything?
Did we say MI paste?
MI paste.
Available.
So Invisalign is also.
Do you guys have the oral day? Invisalign. Do you guys have the oral ID in your offices, or do you do Valscope? What's your oral cancer? Which one do you have?
Oral ID.
You have oral ID.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, and I was just going to add,
Okay.
Holly, to what all Cindy said, is that with our hygienists being providers in the practice, they have an array of different products that they're at their disposal to be able to recommend to our patients to give them every tool in the toolbox that we have. And so even
Yep, Brittany, you're breaking up. Are you there?
She's frozen.
Okay, I think I lost her. She is frozen.
Yep, she's frozen.
Okay.
That's cool.
So one of the
I've
other
been wanting
things
to do
is
that
a lot of times the hygienist will ask me, how do you talk price to your patients? Like, how do you approach that with their treatment plans, and how does that play out?
I know for me,
Amber, go ahead.
So when it comes to talking to patients about pricing, it was really hard for me at first, especially being a newbie. So when it comes to new patients, I never want to hand out a price to those new patients because they've just gone through a comprehensive exam. And, I always tell them, even though I may not know the pricing, you're going to sit down with our office manager and she's going to go over your entire treatment plan with you and help you out through that, go through all your financing, lots of possibilities for patients to start their treatment. When it comes to in my op, if it's take-home products like Prevident or chlorhexidine, or if I need to place a localized area of antibiotic, I feel very comfortable telling the patient that because I've established that relationship with them and that trust, and just letting them know why they need that product. And so it kind of goes back to not selling things. It's just, I believe you need this. And when you have that relationship and trust, it's very easy to pull it up. And we are able to pull it up right up in our operatories and tell them, ma'am, this is going to be X amount, and move forward. So it's a little hard at first, but I think when you have that relationship, it makes it a lot easier.
Good. This is a question for the doctor. Do you do implants, and what types of services other than general dentistry do you do in the office and refer out?
I am an interesting doctor to choose for that question. because I do everything, guys. There's a lot of dentists out there in this community who do not, and there's nothing wrong with that. In Aspen, like I talked about, there's a lot of providers who choose to do, you know, the simple things, and there's some guys who are going to choose to do a lot more of the difficult treatments and the full mouth restorations and rehabs. And I do everything. I place implants. I do full alveoplasty surgeries, tori removals, impacted third molars. We do. Well, you know, me and Cindy have actually done apicoectomies a couple of times. So we've had, you know, there's just a lot of things that I do that maybe you won't find a lot of other general dentists doing. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that's what the standard is. Absolutely not. There's you can do whatever dentistry makes you happy, truly.
So ultimately, you as providers have the say in how you treat your patients. That's what it comes down to, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
So for hygiene, yes. So for hygiene, do you refer any patients out for perio, or do you do that all in-house?
We definitely do refer. I mean, you're going to get that one patient that you feel very uncomfortable if they've got 10 millimeter pockets. There's no way in heck you can scale that. So at least I know I can't. But those are the patients. I would say anything 9 and above, we would refer, unless it's a size specific, which Dr. Alex sometimes likes for us to try. If the patient doesn't have insurance or for whatever reason, we do go ahead and try for the patient with them knowing it may or may not work. We might have to refer you out anyway, but we'll give it a try and see if it responds. And if it doesn't, we know what the outcome is going to be.
Perfect. So here's a question that's often asked through with students, and because it's important to them. And I find this is that what types of community outreach programs does Aspen participate in, or have you guys done?
I can take that. The community outreach is a big part of my business. You know, that's something that I really want to, you know, explore even more as my business grows. In Aspen Dental, we do a lot of things, you know, as an organization to really, I don't know, just kind of showcase our brand, showcase people what, you know, the people of Aspen Dental and what we care about. There's the veteran movement that we do every year. We do a mobile mouth unit. That's a great service. When that comes to Oklahoma, we always participate. We spend an entire day treating veterans every single year. It's awesome. Give them plenty of free services, from deep scalings all the way to, you know, restorations that they need done. Some of the other things that we'll do is we'll do an open day, Veteran Day, where we open our clinics across the entire state. And I encourage all of my offices to be open, and all of the providers come in and to really serve that. There are other things that we have here in Oklahoma called OK Mission of Mercy, where a lot of my employees have participated annually, where they'll go down and as a team really involve themselves in just the people of Oklahoma and really giving back to the community, helping them by giving them free dental care. I find that to be just really inspiring. There's just so many things, and I can't wait to explore more of those options with my partners. We've been talking a lot about different opportunities around the town, even that go outside of dentistry, maybe just trying to build a house for the homeless, or even go down to the soup kitchen and try to, maybe, provide some help there. Those are the things that we really want to participate in. So definitely important.
And Holly, also
just briefly coming back to the, yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was just going to add that we also do every year different mission trips. So where we go overseas and we will take, a couple of doctors, a couple of hygienists, and spend a week in different countries able to provide that free access to care for these patients as well.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. Going back quickly to the COVID situation, I know we advertise and it's on our website, the Smile Wide, Smile Safe promise. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means? Who wants to take that question?
I mean, I think that's
Or Doctor?
no, Amber, if you want to take it, take it.
Go ahead, Dr. Alex, you take it.
I think it goes back to the same. I think it really does. It goes back to the same thing. You know, the promise is that we're going to do everything we can to keep you safe. We're going to do everything we can to keep our employees safe. You know, we want to protect you through this pandemic. We want to protect, you know, our business. But it's as simple as that. Just like the many promises that we make our patients, from, you know, providing them with free comprehensive care. You know, people think the word free coming up is just some, you know, it's some ploy to get them in the building, or a money back guarantee denture. It's like, oh, so you're just going to give them their money back? Yeah, I will. My goal is to make sure that my patients are cared for at the highest level. And if I can't do that, although it's going to hurt my pride, trust me, it will. I mean, at the end of the day, my goal is still the same. And the same thing applies here. We've got to take care of our people and take care of our company. So that's it.
Right. Absolutely. So a lot of times in Aspen, we talk about the culture, our culture, which is one of the things I feel that sets us apart from the others. What does the culture of Aspen, what does that mean to you? Cindy, you want to take that?
To me, it just means taking care of our patients again. I cannot stress that enough. Always doing what's best for them, and, you know, giving them the tools that they need to restore the health of their gums. That's what the culture of Aspen means to me.
Brittany, what does that mean to you as far as Aspen?
So I would love to just add to that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, I was having internet issues. Yes. So to me, you know, being in the role that I'm in, I'm all about my people. Is, you know, Cindy is directly providing care to patients. I have the opportunity of supporting her, who's then supporting the patients. And so for me, it's about putting my people first, because if I put my people first, my people are putting my patients first.
Okay. Amber, how about you? What does the culture mean to you of Aspen?
I'd say it's a family. The culture is Aspen's just inviting and family-like, from our staff to go ahead and treating my patients like they are family. And so for me, I spend the majority of my time in the office, so that becomes my family. And so that's just kind of the culture of what it's become for me, is being family and treating everybody like their family.
Good. Dr. Williams, you want to talk on the culture of Aspen?
I better not, or I'll go off for an hour. But no,
Okay. Hey, you have the floor.
I love Aspen Dental. It's been a huge part of my life. It's been a big part of, you know, what made me the provider I am today. It came from, you know, as an owner, you know, I bought into an idea that, you know, that there are people out there trying to do good, you know, good for people, you know, patients, employees. That is something that really, really resonated with me, which is why I'm an owner with this company, and why I'm an advocate of this company, trying to bring on other doctors and influence people to come and join me in this mission, because it's just so rewarding. Every day we get to come to work. We are family, as the others have said. We're a family. I'm a family with everyone, not just my local crew, okay? Not just the greater 16 practices. I'm a family with doctors all over this nation that I would have never, ever gotten to connect with or meet. And to be able to be a part of those lives that influence and change and help grow you as a practitioner, as a person, it's just unbelievable. I just can't stress enough just the amazing culture that we bring as far as caring for their patients and putting them first. And at the end of the day, because that's what they believe, it allowed me to practice in a very, very open and honest way that made me feel good every single day. I could go home and feel good about what I'm doing. And that is what I think everybody's looking for. So that's what the culture means to me.
You're absolutely right. And yes, and that sums it up great, because I feel that way too. I work, what I loved also about Aspen was that even though when I worked in an office, I worked in that small office, but I had a huge network of people in this organization that, that I met at HOP and was able to keep in contact with. And now that I'm in this position, I've met people from all over, and you just feel a connection. So for Brittany, her and I have spent time together, and, we're from different states, and doing these kinds of things with you guys and meeting you. And I feel like even though we're 10,000 strong, we're all connected, and that means a lot, So going back to a clinical question, what is the new patient exam like? Because we have, we see a lot of new patients. What's the new patient exam like, and how do you manage that between scheduled patients? So we'll go back to Cindy or Amber if you want to take that. You can actually both answer that if you'd like. Cindy, we'll go with you first.
Sure. So the patient, of course, checks in, they fill out paperwork, which now we try to go paperless because of COVID, but the assistant will take them back and take a full series of x-rays, which is the panoramic and PAs and bitemings, and they sit them in a room, go over health history, ask them what brings them in and what their main concern is. They'll document all of that, and then they'll take the scan that Dr. Alex was talking about earlier that shows them, identifies a lot of stuff that they can see themselves. Then they'll go grab the hygienist, which probes and tells them, recommends certain treatments, whether it be, high infection or gingivitis or regular prophy. And then they'll go grab the doctor, which, we'll kind of hand off with the hygienist and the doctor to what we saw. And then of course we always mention what the patient is in for, because that's the ultimate, priority is to get them out of pain or, fix a front tooth that's broken. And then Dr. Alex will take it from there. He'll treatment plan, do his part. After that, they'll see the office manager, which will go through finances and all that good stuff. So.
Sure. So there, you have a lead role and an associate hygienist role. So Amber, how does that play out in an office as far as, the lead position and the associate hygienist? What's the difference in those roles?
I might not be the best one to answer this, just because I am single hygiene in my office. So I'm the lead in my office.
Oh, okay.
What I can answer is a lead. We are the ones that go through, we place our orders, we make sure that we're, fully stocked, and we have all of our adjuncts that we want to give to our patients, our oral Bs, and just preparing for that. But Brittany or Cindy might be better off on the lead and associate role, because
okay.
I'm all by myself.
That's how
I can add to that, Holly.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So that lead hygienist is really kind of like Amber alluded to, is the one that is wanting to grow and develop into the next role. And so they're the ones that really focus on your hygiene business. So like she said, they're doing the ordering, they're doing the majority of the downtime tasks to help build their business, whether it be schedule audits, confirmations, working reports. But then that lead hygienist is also developing their associate hygienist, where the associate hygienist is really focused more directly on just the clinical aspects. So maybe they're a newer hygienist, is really just wanting to focus on their clinical skills and developing their time management and confidence, whatever it may be. And they're working with that lead hygienist who, again, is developing that associate hygienist to grow to the next level is his or her backfill.
Perfect. So what is an average day like for you guys in hygiene? Cindy, you want to take that?
Sure.
I mean, I know that's hard because every day is different.
It is. So there's not a perfect schedule anytime, but if you had an ideal schedule, it would be, to always have holes, because you are seeing new patients in a different column, and you always want to try to get those patients in, especially if they're coming in. If it's something gum related and you know that they need scaling of root planing, you definitely want to have time to accommodate that patient, or at least try to get them in as soon as possible. You'll see, a couple of recall appointments, whether it be, a prophy or a peri-maintenance, and maybe a scheduled SRP already on your schedule. So usually, you have 4.5 hours in the morning or so. So I would say, a couple of recalls, an SRP, you break for lunch and then do the same thing in the afternoon. But every office is definitely different.
Great. Amber, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't. That would be a very typical day in my office as well. So I like to keep busy. I don't like downtime. So yes, keeping that open schedule and those slots, like she said, for those new patients coming in and being able to slide them in is ideal for me.
Perfect. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So I'm just going to go around to each of you and ask you one last question. Kind of not so much a question, but to pretty much sum up in a few words your time at Aspen and what it's meant to you.
Few words.
Who wants to go first on that? Yeah, I know.
I'm going to keep mine very short and very sweet since I've been talking a lot.
Okay.
Aspen Dental,
We like that, though.
me, has really given me opportunities that I never thought existed in my life. It gave me the potential to be somebody that I never thought that I would ever be. It put me in a place where I've had to almost be forced to grow. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to be pushed,
Yeah.
and I just really appreciate them being a big part of that journey for me.
I'll go next.
Thank you. Sure.
So if I had to sum up my experience with Aspen Dental and what it means to me, really one word, I would just say self-development. Because if it had not been for me taking that initial leap of faith to come on with Aspen and really just learning about all the different opportunities for development, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you all. I mean, back to when I was in private practice for almost 4 years, I at one point thought, okay, like this is going to be my hygiene career for the next 40 years until I'm old and retire. And just all of the support that you have, whether it be on the office level with your office manager or your owner doctor, or on my level, I have, great connections with other hygiene managers across Aspen Nation that help me on a daily basis to become a better hygiene manager. And then also just my different directors that are my support, just helping me to set those goals for myself and help me be a better person every day and be a better leader. And my owner doctors as well, just all of the support that they give me and develop. I mean, it just almost brings me to tears because I'm just so thankful for the company and what all that it's done for my self-development.
Great. Thank you, Brittany. Amber?
So Aspen Dental has helped me come into my own self, I guess, and allowing me to feel comfortable in who I am in my skin, kind of personally and as a provider. Just the open communication that I'm able to have between my doctor and my team and my Brittany. It's really made a world of a difference. I love that I have a community of hygienists to bounce questions off. We have a text message group where we can send questions if, you know, we don't know about something or we need to find something. So that's not something that I ever had. So it's allowed me to really branch out. And I'm kind of with Brittany is now that I know that there's more that I can do than on a clinical standpoint. I'm excited. Like as soon as I realized that was something that I could do, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I love to be clinical, but I know that one day my body's just not going to allow me to do that anymore. And I have that potential to grow within Aspen Dental. And if that's not exciting for a hygienist, I don't know what is. So, but
You're right. Thank you, Amber. Cindy, last but not least.
For me, it's just, there's no other place I would rather be. It's just the relationships that you build with your doctor and your teams, especially with your patients, trying to help those patients has been really, you know, eye-opening for me. I've become a better clinician, just helping those patients in need. That's what it's all about. So I really appreciate that. Aspen has allowed me to do that.
Great. Thank you. Well, our time is up. I want to thank all of you for joining me. You guys were an excellent panel, and I hope to work with you again in the future. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.